usually the question here should be like, hey, wait a minute, why is it converted to double? Why is int converted to double and double not converted to int? So that should tell us that double has higher precedence than int. So C++ will always convert an integer to double if you do some operations without explicitly saying, oh, I want you to change this double to an int so that I can do int to int. So if you don't do that, then C++ will convert it to double because double has higher precedence. Okay, so now let's look at the opposite. We're going to go convert double to int, right? So int return convert double to int. If you press enter, it'll complete for you. Double parameter, we just have some value here. And then we go here. We already have the include at the top, so we don't have to do it again. And notice the instructions are just to return the num parameter. So logic here is, well, since this is double, I'm not going to do anything here but return that value. But notice when I return it, oops, not double, but num, right? When I return num, which is double type, notice there, it is double. It'll be implicitly converted to integer, right? So we're not doing any arithmetic operation, but like the fact that we're returning the value, then C++ will be like, oh, you send me a decimal or a double, but you want int, so I'll return the int. And this is important to understand because, I mean, if that double has decimal values to the right side of the decimal, then all those values will be ignored. Like if we have like 10.99, then C++ will just return 10 and it'll ignore the 0.99. Okay, so we have to make sure we understand that. So we go here and test case, enter test implicit data type casting. Verify double to int conversion, right? That's what we want to check, like, is that happening or not? And we can say require enter that convert double to int nets us something right here. Like we can probably use any values. Like I guess I'll use 10.99, and if I return a value, then if my explanation is correct, then it should return the value 10. So that's what we are looking at here. Like, will it return a whole number and ignore the decimal values? So we go here, jump down to example 01 data, 02 expressions, right click on ex02 test and select run in terminal. And green always good. You'll realize that when you're doing your homework. That'll make you happy. So notice 10 equals 10. So we just have to be aware of what's happening, right? So in Python, you don't deal with data types, right? Like Python handles all that behind the scenes. So when you return a value, like Python will be like, oh, you're returning a float, which is same as a double, right? But double's like a large float. Then it'll just say, I'm just going to give you the whole number and the decimal values. But C++, being strongly type, meaning you tell me you're working with this data type as a return value, then I'm going to work with that data type. I'm not going to change like into double to accommodate a double coming back. I'm just going to mess up your data, right? So I have to be careful with this. Questions here? Let me see here.
I have a question about so when you're writing, I noticed you're writing the function in two separate files. Isn't there in C++ like a policy or like there's like a rule where you can just define it in like one file? Or it's like a vague idea, but I don't know if that's like true.
Yeah, so so the guideline is to use headers and .h files and .cpp files. All right, so I mean the explanation is for advanced concepts, right? But in short, it'll reduce compilation time as files are changed, right? Like if you have like 10,000 files in your code base and you separate the files like this, then C++ will be able to identify like headers that have changed, and it'll reduce the compilation time. And if you don't do that, then the compilation time takes a long time. That might not mean anything to you all right now, but like whenever you're compiling large programs, right, like following standards could be the difference between like waiting all day or waiting 30 minutes for like the new build so that you can deploy to customers occurs, right? So but the recommendation is to do it like this. And when we get to classes, then you'll be like, oh, so that's why we do that. Okay. Okay, so let me see here. Okay, so that was that. Let me commit this. I'll stop the recording and then I'll create a new one. So let me stop here.